Hello, this is Johann Agron, and I'm going to be narrating through everyone's levels for Team Emerald. Starting, we are at David Whitehead's level, the warehouse. Over to the right, we have a serene scene of a boathouse and some boats. Upon entering this first room, we're introduced to his first mechanic, the pressure plate. When you step on the pressure plate, it activates whatever it's connected to, with proper audio and visual feedback. Moving into this next building, this next warehouse over here. We'll open it up, and we're introduced to the spotlight mechanic. The spotlight mechanic is if you end up getting tagged by the spotlight camera here, it'll shut down the next door, preventing you from progressing. And you need to wait a couple seconds for you to move on. This introduction area is a bit safe for players so they don't lose too much progress. Over here is a collectible, our common collectible for the cassette tape. Moving forward, we are presented with pressure plates. The practice section, where one pressure plate powers another pressure plate in order for you to move forward. I should mention that the goal for this entire game of Scraps is to get to the Cold Mountain Cryo Facility and retrieve a heart for the Bastion. And so through this warehouse, you need to get through this warehouse to the munitions factory in order to get an explosive to break into the cryo facility, and so on and so forth. So this pressure plate in the twist, the pressure plate with the searchlight, opens the door, but you have to avoid the searchlight for the rest of the progression here, otherwise the door gets shut. And in order to reopen it, the player has to move back to the very beginning. So that's what I'm going to do here, trying to avoid the searchlights. I'm jumping through this warehouse here. There's an optional collectible for over there, but if players want to grab it, they can do so. So moving into this area, this next area here has a lake and a town in front, just to give some depth to the level and to help immerse the player in knowing that this is a post-apocalyptic scenario. So moving into this next warehouse here, we will be running into the mastery section of the mechanics. This is the mastery section for the searchlight, where the player has to avoid various searchlights tied to this passageway here in order to progress. I'm just going to jump around here real quick. So I got caught by the searchlight. I'll have to wait for the door to open again. And here is the mastery pressure plate situation, where there are 3 pressure plates and the first 2 have to be powered in order for the third one to work. And the third one is right at the door here. This is the end of David Whitehead's level, the warehouse. Now moving forward into the seamless transition, this is my level. I'm the designer for this one. This is the munitions factory, where the player has to retrieve an explosive in order to break into the Cold Mountain Cryo Facility. So in this introduction portion, we're introduced to a conveyor belt, where upon activation pushes this crate for you to conveniently place underneath this vent the player can jump into. So crawling through this vent system, you'll be thrown into the next area, the spark plugs. You'll notice that there are 2 spark plug holders here with different shapes, and you have to link the correct shapes to the corresponding spark plug. So I'm slotting mine in here, and then slotting the circle one here as well. After that, the elevator is powered, and we can hit the button and go down to the next factory floor level to some nice smooth jazz. Now that we've entered the second factory, the main factory portion, we are introduced to the practice mechanic for the conveyor belt. So if the player tries to activate it, they'll be met with the deny signal, and at the bottom left there's some feedback verifying that. They have to slide in the conveyor belt frame in order to, and they have to complete the conveyor belt in order for the the conveyor belt to work and activate. So here the player tightens in the two belt loops and allow the player to activate the conveyor belt. The conveyor belt will set up this crate here strategically for the player to be able to make this jump across to make it to that static conveyor belt over there. So now we're introduced to the practice section of the spark plugs. This time there are 3 shapes, and they're hidden in this room full of fodder on these shelves. The player has to kind of navigate and get through and find. So here's the square one, the new shape, slotted in there. And towards the back over here is the circle spark plug. Once all 3 are plugged in, the door opens and the player can progress to the final room of this factory. Here, the player will find the explosive, and now the new objective is to find a way to escape the munitions factory. The player walks over to this computer terminal. They'll be given a hint towards the bottom left at the console that escape involves using this rocket turret here. If they try to activate the conveyor belt, just like the practice session, they have to complete the conveyor belt in order to proceed. This time it's over a high height, and if they fall, the player will die. So the player has to be able to navigate through over this high gap and over these suspended platforms in kind of a precarious situation in order to proceed. So, linking my second conveyor belt frame here and tying this down. Now that the conveyor belt is completed, the player can jump and make its way back to the controller, where we can activate the conveyor belt and get this rocket turret set in place. So as the rocket turret moves towards where it needs to be positioned, I'd like to point out that each one of these interactions has full audio and visual feedback. Even the stop there, so now we know that the conveyor belt has reached its final destination for the turret, and we can activate this computer terminal.
Madison Maze. Be finishing up Johann's level, navigating the precarious jumps. I'm a campus student. I'm about to enter my level through the blown out wall. So we enter my level. That's a long fall. You see a beautiful natural scene. The player will navigate around this lake, and the first thing they'll come to is the skull and a voice recording, which will show some of the history behind the scene. I'm not going to do most of the voice recordings because they'll be the entire level. I'll play a few later, but for right now, the first obstacle is to get rid of these boulders with the grappling. This one's very heavy, so there we go. The player will then move forward a little bit and notice some of this pristine natural beauty. So you can hear the waterfall through the 3D game object. Moving through this canyon where cars used to go, we see the Cold Mountain Cryo Facility signage, and notice that the door itself is obscured by some rubble. And then we'll approach this skeleton, which has another voice recording, which will give a little bit of the history of this facility and what it entails, which is basically having organs removed and replaced. Up here we see some storage tanks and a pipe in which to access the level. So we'll creep down here and enter into the bathroom. You can see the sun shining in from there. As we get closer to here, you can see a drip effect, some water. I'll play this recording for you.
I'm hiding in this bathroom because I'm scared witless about this procedure. I know the surgeries have a 98% success rate, but I just can't stop shaking. I feel like something terrible is going to happen. Where are my pills?
So you can see here, these are the prices of each organ. The plastic explosive picked up in the previous munitions level is used to open this door, which was the intention of the level from the very beginning. So we move towards this door and we'll get the message that says press E to plant the explosive. And I'll move over here and notice that there is another recording that we'll play for you.
God damn, this is boring. I've been waiting here for 2 hours. I'm about to tweet my agent. His ass is gone. Talking about a new heart. Whoopie-doo. Done. I dropped $500,000 on this.
We explode the door. We noticed fire elements. Remember, you had to crouch behind this in order for the bomb to explode. Make sure you don't get hit by any shrapnel, such as this door. This fire will continue to expand, eventually consuming this entire bookshelf. Eventually, this will turn into an instant kill zone, which prevents players from backtracking. Unless, of course, you jump on here and sort of hug the wall. It's sort of a secret way in case people let the whole fire go. Here we see some music happening to get you into the mood. This is the main security zone. We see some lasers reflecting off the ice, and we come into contact with the turret mechanic. We notice that most of them are turned off. It looks like there's 3 of them, one back there. This turret is encapsulated in ice. You can see the refraction of the laser beam. As we travel over here, we notice that this is security glass and there's no way to break through. And we notice that there's a bullet hole that's sort of fractured just a little bit. Cool glass effect there. Here's another security recording that will tell you more about the fractured glass to give you a clue on how to open it. The player that will then be motivated by lighting to look at this crack in the wall, and you can hear the wind blowing through and these electrical sparks. And this dead guy hanging out over here. We get some messages that say press E. The wires are glowing hot, which if you look up here, there are some large icicles. You hit E, it crushes the security glass. Move in here to the chamber of organs. You'll see the hearts and the brains back here. There's another recording, which gives a little more flavor. If we move over to this computer, get the flavor text that says you can press E, but it doesn't work unless the security zone is powered on. So we'll go over here, indicated by the lighter color, hit E. Everything powers on, and you notice this door closes to prevent the player from leaving before they get the heart. So then we'll run over to this computer, hit E. We'll see this animation pick up the heart, which was the intention of the mission the entire time. Nice little animation. And we'll get this heart. As you see, there's a completion. Move over here. And all the turrets are turned on now that the facility's been completely activated. So you're gonna have to avoid green tracers on the bullet. Right back in here. Then we're gonna use the bullets to break open this area. And here you're gonna hear heartbeats approaching because what you're gonna have to do is get the heart you just got implanted into your own chest. And we'll do this flavor text.
This is Mickey Gibbons, janitor. How these auto docs manage to spray blood on the wall daily, I'll never know. I think they need an update, but what do I know? Now old Mickey has to stand on the bucket and scrub for 9 hours. Shine the docks, Mickey. Empty the medical waste, Mickey. Lower back is killing me. Glad I found these pills in the lobby earlier.
There's the blood he has to clean off. And then once you get the heart and implanted it, you are going to exit out of this portion of the level. Here's some more heartbeats and transition into the next one.
Hi, this is Ash Davis with my level Into Darkness. As you can see here, we're coming out of Madison's level as a cryo storage facility. This is more of a transition between the city and where we'll eventually head to the Bastion. Right here is the introduction to my block building mechanic. So there's a box collider right there somewhere, I guess. So for here, all you'll do is line up boxes to jump on here. As you can see, there's colliders and everything for the fences that you cannot progress that way. Jump over this. Right here is a transition between the two terrains. As you can see, that's two different textures here. We follow in this, excuse me, this path. Right here is the introduction to the poison gas mechanic. You can hear the audio play. Here's a big collectible. Again, it'll have audio clip associated with it. We'll just kind of skip that for time. You can check through here is a city. Again, to add a little bit of depth to the scene and interesting objects to kind of make a story. The story through the audio logs will be of the Bastion and the police fighting against the corrupt organization. Kind of them moving toxic materials through here, through semis and such. Alright, we'll move into the metro station, restricted area. Obviously there's something going on here. You can enter the level seeing the next collectible up there. This is an old sorting machine. As you can see, it's one of what Madison had used back in his level. We repurposed it for this to also pack boxes. Shift in here. Alright, well, moving into the train. The train I built myself. We get the flashlight on here. Textured it with UV mapping. As you can see here, the train actually was destroyed. The metro was, and the train fell in here, leaving debris and rebars through it as it crashed. Let me get through here. Another collectible. I'm gonna go grab that one. As you can see here, we'll come into this where we stored the various chemicals. Now, these also have damage volumes on them. Player cannot walk around in the poison gas, but they can jump on barrels and things to get around. Coming into the final room is the mastery of the twist of the poison gas, which does 30 damage, which should reset the player right here. So 30 damage a tick, and here they will have to build to make a bridge across the dangerous material. Get in here. Well, obviously I messed that up, but I think this way might be a little bit easier. The struggle bus. And that's the way it's supposed to work. And we're leaving here and going into Ian's level. And that was the end of my introduction to the darkness. This level is Ian Richardson's level. You can see here is a continuation. As you turn everything back on into my level, the train progresses into Ian's level and is our eventual exit from the Bastion if we choose. So as we see here, we have his introduction to his fuse and damage volume for the electrified rail system. So here's his switch mechanic. By clicking E to activate, we can progress the train. Sorry about Jesus. There we go. Alright, so moving on here. Grab his switch. Grab this collectible, which will open the door. Now we'll grab this switch. And his switches are scripted all together, so if at any one point in time the player misses one or does not complete one of these puzzles, none of them will be progressed. So there's no skipping through on his level. We can crouch to get through here under this box, where we'll pick up another collectible. And for the mastery of fuses, twist, grab 2, plug them in, and then we have the fuse box on that has power now. Oh, sorry, there's one more. It's power now, which progresses the train. We will need this fuse to finish this mastery mechanic. 2. So we can see the code is on the wall. Green, off, green. And then this door will open with a final briefcase with the money that you were rewarded for a job well done. We'll exit the bunker, the metro station, and the train is here for your eventual departure. This has been Ian's level. Thank you.
Oh, this is Petty Officer John.